Welcome to the Solid Verbal. The Solid Verbal.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I've heard so many players say, well, I want to be happy. You want to be happy for a day? Eat a steak.
It's that woo-woo!
And now, Dan and Ty.
Welcome back to the Solid Verbal, boys and girls. My name is Ty Hildebrand. Joining me as always, but not from New York City, Dan Rubenstein. Where are you, sir? How are you?
I'm good. I am on the West Coast. I'm in Lake Tahoe for work. I'm out here for the American Century Championship, which is a celebrity golf tournament.
Who, what now? What is that?
The American Century Championship. So you remember, it's right after the MLB All-Star Game we're recording in. The All-Star Game is tonight. So
right.
Typically, this is the time of year where no sports are happening, specifically because baseball's in its all-star break. So nothing's going on. So there's a bunch of athletes and actors and stuff like that. I think Ray Romano is here, Justin Timberlake. I'm trying to think of notable football. Jerry Rice is here.
Yeah, okay.
Steph Curry. Fun people. So I'm going to be doing fun golf things, which I don't know that much about golf.
Now, hold on, pause.
Things. Yeah.
For
please.
anyone who's listened to this show for any extended period of time, they're pretty aware of your adversarial relationship with the fine sport, emphasized sport of golf. Will you actually be out there playing amongst the celebrities and stars?
No, I will not be taking part in any of the golf on the course. I'll be doing driving range stuff. So maybe I'll take a few cracks at the, what is it, the white ball?
The white ball. Yeah, I demand, since you've been doing some Instagram story stuff for us, by the way, follow us on Instagram. We're doing stories now.
Yeah.
I will get in on the fun, I promise you. But in the meantime, while you're out there, I demand that we at least get some sort of video evidence of your golf swing.
Oh, I can play golf.
I know you can play, but we'd like to see it as interested
I can do that.
Third parties. Please take a video and post it on the Instagram story.
You know who I think is out here, Ty? I believe. I saw his name on a list. Doesn't mean for sure he's going to be here. Sometimes things can come up. Brian Kelly.
No. Great.
I believe Brian Kelly's out here. I'm going to do my very best to get him on the Solid Verbal Instagram story account.
Do it.
That's what I'm going to try to do. Follow Solid Verbal. Sounds just like it is. Solid Verbal.
So you're at Lake Tahoe.
Yeah.
The scenery here is decidedly different. They're actually doing some utility work outside the studio window here. And there's a jackhammer that's been going for about 12 straight hours.
I'd take it.
So right now, what I've got is a series of blankets draped over my window in hopes of maybe deadening the sound. It looks like I've configured a kill room, Dan.
I've been hearing Ed Sheeran and Bruno Mars and Lana Del Rey at a very loud volume at the pool outside. So I would still take yours. Also, Ty, I realized something. This is unrelated, but I want you to do your best to accommodate the people that are listening to the show at 1.5 speed.
Okay.
Or 2 times speed. Do you have a preference? How fast do you listen to your podcasts?
I usually go about 1.25 on my Overcast player.
Here's what I want from you. I want you to tell people where they can find the Solid Verbal online, just whether it's Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, but I want you to slow down your cadence because I do not want people just speeding past.
You can find the Solid Verbal on Twitter at Solid Verbal, at Facebook.com/solidverbal. You can also subscribe to our newsletter by going to solidverbal.com. I can't do this any longer, Dan. I'm dying here.
No, I know. Listen, we're forcing people in. Screw you, Overcast.
We are getting a ton of new signups on our newsletter, mainly because we've promised you that if you sign up, we'll give you information about shirts and tickets to the live show, which you and I are about to firm up and we'll probably be announcing, I would say, within the next 7 to 10 days. There's also a subreddit now up and running. I had a chance to visit it. Peter, one of the mods, I believe, as they're known, is doing some cool stuff. So check that out. I'm excited to have a community that our verballers can go to and, skewer us behind our backs. I'm sure they'll enjoy that as well.
Yep.
What are we doing tonight, Dan? You're out in Tahoe. I'm back here in Eastern Pennsylvania. Typically in a situation like this, we'll just punt on the show. We'll say, we're not going to do it this week. Too difficult.
Correct.
We have figured out the logistics of how we're going to do this show. And we're going back to the well, putting a little bit of a different spin on a concept we trotted out for the first time last summer. And we could sort of call it, let's make a deal if we want. In reality, it's kind of not that. We're going to do some heads-up matchups. We're going to pose some propositions to each other. And not in the way you'd think. These are entirely college football, I promise. And we're going to talk through some situations we could see coming down the pike here in the 2017 college football season.
Correct.
And we're going to pick which side of things you and I would feel more comfortable with.
This is true. And I don't think we're always going to come down on the same side. I don't think we're always going to agree, but that's okay, Ty. It's about competing. I have Yogi Roth in the back of my head. It's about competing. It's about finding who you are. And it's about moving forward. And you know what, Ty? If this show is a show in which we start to butt heads and we start to go at each other, I want you to know in advance that I have contacted a foreign entity and have conducted a bit of opposition research.
All right.
So just watch yourself, Ty.
First topic. We have a heads-up matchup, Dan. Which side of the equation do you fall? On side A, we've got the total number of Oklahoma Sooners wins in 2017. On side B, we have the number of Big 12 coaches returning for the 2018 season. So this is a good one. I like this one. The Vegas over-under currently for Oklahoma football wins sits at exactly 10. In this case, if Oklahoma wins all 10 games, obviously they would at worst be a push in this situation. There's only 10 teams in the Big 12. I don't think Oklahoma's going to win 10 games this year. And I like Oklahoma.
More or less.
I'll give them like 9 wins, right? That's not a bad year at all, but 10 wins, new coach, some turnover, just seems like a tall order at this point. Again, snap judgments. We haven't done any deep dive of any of these teams, but 10 wins for me, new situation, feels like a bit of a stretch. So with that in mind, if I'm saying 9 wins for Oklahoma, we'd have to retain all 10 coaches in the Big 12 in order for the Big 12 side of this to win. So I think I'm going to go Oklahoma wins over Big 12 coaches returning for 2018.
So you're in the camp of there will be 8 or fewer coaches returning.
I am. And I went through and I counted which ones I thought were the most vulnerable. I don't think Kansas is in any danger of losing their head football coach, David Beatty, because he actually did a half-decent job last year.
Could regress, but yes, he did.
Matt Rule's not going anywhere at Baylor. He just got there. Matt Campbell not going anywhere at Iowa State. He did a pretty good job last year.
Mm-hmm.
Lincoln Riley, another situation, just kind of got there. Mike Gundy, Gary Patterson, Tom Herman, Dana Holgerson, I'll even throw into that camp. These are guys that, provided the bottom doesn't fall out, in many cases they just got there. In many cases they've been there for a while and have done some good stuff. Holgerson's always kind of on the fence, but I still feel pretty good about his situation. West Virginia should have a good year. The ones that jump out at me, the obvious ones, Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury needs to turn some things around. I think they've got a fascination with him in Lubbock that he wouldn't be an easy guy to get rid of, but the on-field results need to be there in 2017 more so than they have in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also very interested to see what happens with Bill Snyder. And not because I think Kansas State's going to have a bad year, but at some point the guy's got to retire, right?
Yeah, and coming off of an off season with a pretty serious illness, it doesn't seem like he is much longer for Manhattan.
So again, if I'm picking between the two, I think Oklahoma has more. The smart money would be on, I think, 9 wins over, let's say, 8.5. Is kind of how I feel about returning coaches in the Big 12.
Yeah, I think that's correct. I am going to go with Oklahoma wins as well, but I think more comfortably than you have it, because I think Oklahoma will win at least 10 games. The Ohio State game on the road early is much more than tricky. They go to Oklahoma State, so Bedlam is earlier on in November. They go to Kansas, they go to Kansas State, they go to Baylor. So not the most difficult stretch other than Ohio State on the road and Oklahoma State, Kansas State. It's a tough schedule. I'm going to say, by the way, though, before we move on, that there will be 7 coaches back next year, not 8.
Who do you have as departing the Big 12?
some sort of combination of Dana Holgerson, Gary Patterson. I have the Bill Snyder. I have the Cliff Kingsbury. I think there's going to be a promotion. I don't know if it's Gary Patterson. I don't know if it's Holgo. I don't know if it's even David Beatty if he has another really good year and proves that he can salvage something and has earned an even bigger job. But I think there's going to be even more turnover as the Big 12 becomes a less and less desirable place to coach.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So like 10-7, 11-7 kind of thing.
Next topic, Dan.
Here we go.
I'm excited about this one. I'm excited. I think we're going to get some interesting feedback on this one. Minnesota wins in 2017. The ultimate wild card now with an ultimate wild card as their head coach in PJ Fleck. Their Vegas over-under for wins is 7.5 versus total wins by the Iowa Hawkeyes in 2017. Their Vegas total, at least again, very early, mid-July, we're talking 7 wins. So 2 comparable teams. If you look at the Bill Connolly previews for both of these schools, he sort of weighs in that Minnesota is just that. They're a wild card. He could see them finishing anywhere between 3-9 and 9-3. And on the Iowa side, it's kind of tough to tell whether they go up, whether they go down. A typical Iowa team, they've got a solid defensive core coming back, but there are questions on offense. Their passing game was horrible a year ago. They need to try and turn that around if they want to progress things forward. So Minnesota versus Iowa, Dan. New coach, old coach. A lot of excitement on one side, steady as she goes on the other. What do you think?
Well, first of all, to take a step back, I commend you. And I don't even know if you did this intentionally, but this is the matchup that gives out the greatest trophy in college football, the Floyd of Rosedale.
That's right.
The by far, it's just a pig on a stand.
It's great.
And it is that is life. I don't know what that means, but that is life. So here's where I come down. I really like the potential of PJ Fleck and his staff at Minnesota and going a totally new direction because we know year over year, it was a similar system moving from coach to coach to coach to coach for a little bit. And I think right now, given the fresh blood, the new blood, I'm being very sort of violent with talking about pig blood. I don't know. Whatever the case may be, I am going with Minnesota for one reason and one reason only. Their schedule's way better.
Yeah, it is.
Iowa's got a brutal schedule. Minnesota might just be okay. I think they're going to be pretty good in 2017, but all things point to them perhaps starting at either 4-1 or 5-0. Which is a nice little base to have for the season, Ty. We don't know anything about Michigan State. We know Illinois is going to be bad. Their road games in the second half of the year. At Iowa, tough. At Michigan, very tough. At Northwestern, decently tough as well. You notice how I didn't say Ohio State or Penn State anywhere in talking about their schedule? So I think Minnesota can do what they do best, and that's like a quiet 8-4, 9-3 type of season. Whereas with Iowa's schedule being less than ideal, starting with a very tough group of 5 team in Wyoming, going to Iowa State and El Asico, getting Penn State pretty early on, traveling to Michigan State, we don't know, Wisconsin on the road, Nebraska on the road, 2 out of 3 weeks to finish the season. It's a tough year for Iowa scheduling-wise with the new offensive coordinator. It's going to be a relatively similar offense, but schedule alone, I'm taking Minnesota to take home not just the Floyd of Rosedale, but also this competition. I think they go above 7.5, and Iowa, I'm not so sure.
Iowa's schedule is decidedly more difficult than Minnesota. The thing that both schedules share is that the back half of the schedule for both is somewhat loaded. Something of a murderer's row. And in both cases, I would venture a guess that a game earlier-ish in the season for both against Michigan State is sort of going to be the bellwether. Yeah. As I look at Minnesota's schedule, I can very easily see a win over Buffalo and Oregon State and Middle Tennessee and Maryland and Purdue. Even throw Illinois in there. Why not? Michigan State, I don't know what to expect out of Michigan State. Michigan State's kind of in a weird rebuild for the second year in a row. And then after that, you go to Iowa, to Michigan, home against Nebraska, to Northwestern, which is a weird place to play, and then close out the year against Wisconsin. You could craft a scenario where Minnesota goes 0-5 in its final 5 games. I still think I feel better about them than I do Iowa, but Iowa has fooled me before So I don't think it's a talking to your kids about Iowa kind of year, but it wouldn't be beyond them at all to just win with a solid running game and a pretty good defense.
You know what I'm interested in, Ty? And this is going to sound a little bit strange. I'm interested in the Hideo Nomo factor. Both of these teams. Do you remember Hideo Nomo?
How could I ever forget?
What was unique about Hideo Nomo's game?
His windup.
Crazy windup.
Sure.
And early on in his career, hitters just couldn't figure it out. And there was just the thing like, well, baseball's going to catch up to him. Baseball's going to catch up to him. It's just so new and so weird and different that everybody just sort of struggled with that. I think that factor for Minnesota with a new staff, new offense, new defense, familiar faces, obviously, but new schemes, new attitude, whatever. And coming off of a very strange back half of the year, given everything that happened off the field, it's a fresh start for the Gophers. I think the Hideo Nomo factor for Minnesota is higher, although I think it still exists with Iowa because of the new offense. But I see Iowa, even with returning star power in the backfield. I think you and I both love Akram Wadley.
Yeah.
I think the Hideo Nomo factor favors Minnesota, so I'm going with the Gophers.
We're chock full of baseball analogies as it relates to the Big Ten
I
West.
loved Hideo Nomo. Well,
you were a
Nomo.
Dodgers fan, too. You still are.
Yeah.
So I could certainly see why he'd be a big deal. Who wasn't a Hideo Nomo fan?
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you're a Yankees fan, and you had a bunch of Japanese imports, maybe that played a little bit in unorthodox ways.
I mean, Hideo Nomo was no Hideki Arabu, mind you, but he was still pretty good and exciting to watch. But we've used the Hideo Nomo factor in the Big Ten West. We've also compared playing in Evanston to trying to hit a knuckleballer at some point in our past. So Big Ten West should be an interesting year. I think it overall improves. I am going to go Minnesota here over Iowa.
Who would you say, and I'm totally putting you on the spot here, has the biggest, the most robust and dynamic Hideo Nomo factor situation going into the season? Is it Oklahoma with a new but last minute coaching change? Who is it?
I mean,
Alabama new offense and replacing a bunch of assistants.
I think the
Clemson quarterback.
The easy answer is probably Navy football. You could use that one every year. The problem is that Navy football doesn't have quite the same Hideo Nomo factor because they've been doing it successfully now for a number of years. So it's definitely not a flash in the pan once you get used to them. I also think Texas could be an interesting answer because no one's quite sure what we're going to see from the same personnel from a year ago. You can take guesses, but in the spring game, they kept it pretty vanilla. You just don't know how Tom Herman's going to assemble the parts.
You know what's an interesting one to me? Florida with Malik Zai-Era. And how they might wiggle that offense around his talents.
Last year, Alabama and Jalen Hurts would have been an interesting example. Again, the problem with the analogy, though, is that no one could really beat Alabama.
Yeah, it's much more saying we don't know what they're going to look like at all. Going into the Bama season, we thought Blake Barnett might be starting, or he did start against USC. But yeah, Navy, you have the idea. Ohio State's offense, there's a Hideo Nomo factor with Kevin Wilson taking over, Ryan Day.
Yeah.
So, there's a bunch of interesting Nomo factors. All right.
Next topic.
Here we go.
Next topic, we've got two prominent quarterbacks, one East Coast, one West Coast, one South, one North, one DeAndre Francois from Florida State. His quarterback ranking versus FBS teams.
Rating, the ranking of his rating,
The ranking of his rating. Okay, so for example, he had the 39th best quarterback ranking in 2016. His quarterback rating ranking versus Jake Browning touchdown passes. He had 39 a year ago. So if you compare DeAndre Francois' ranking of his quarterback rating from a year ago, he was 39th, to Jake Browning's TD passes from 2016, he also had 39. So by that metric, it's a draw. Here's the problem I have with this, Dan.
I'm ready.
If DeAndre Francois gets better, that number goes down. The number goes down. Well, if he improves, he could seemingly jump up to like 24. And Jake Browning, all he'd really have to do is not get hurt, and he would easily win this one. So I think the smart money is on Jake Browning. The interesting question, though, is if DeAndre Francois declines at all, if he has a little bit of a sophomore slump. Now, I happen to think that DeAndre Francois is pretty good and that he was a warrior out there and played through pain in a ton of situations. But I've been surprised in just kind of perusing the internet that not everyone shares the opinion that he's just automatically going to get better. There are people out there who adamantly believe that he's a good quarterback. He's a serviceable quarterback, but that any and all comparisons to like a Jameis Winston or any great quarterback in Florida State's past is ill-placed on DeAndre Francois. He'll be fine, but just maybe not one of the all-time greats. On what side of the fence do you find yourself on DeAndre Francois?
I think he's fine. I think he's above average. I think if you pay attention to him enough, and our pal Bud Elliott has talked about this as being a major part of the Jimbo Fisher system, he doesn't make a ton of mistakes, which is more than you can say for a number of huge quarterbacks at big schools, that sometimes they'll be mistake prone, as Jameis Winston was later on in his career at Florida State. So that's a big item, big factor in Francois' favor. I just think he's fine. I think the offense will be interesting. I like the running game. I like the youth in the backfield. The receivers there's a ton of talent, a ton of depth there. But here's the problem I have with just automatically thinking Francois is going to improve upon that specific number. He has a lot of good defenses on his schedule. They open against Bama. They have Miami. They have NC State. They have an improved Wake, granted without last year's defensive coordinator. Thank you, Ty. They have a good Louisville defense. They have a good Clemson defense. They have a good Florida defense late. I think it's going to be a little bit more difficult for DeAndre Francois to improve. But then there's another factor, Ty. And that's the John Ross factor.
Factor.
Do you know how many receiving touchdowns John Ross had last year and will not be there this year because he is a National Football League player?
A ton.
I think he had 17 touchdown catches.
Wow.
He's a special talent. So that number, I don't think will be matched by anybody or even approached by anybody. So by that factor, I still think just barely I'm going to go with Jake Browning because I'm worried about DeAndre Francois' rating against this schedule.
So, okay. A point of clarification.
Please.
If DeAndre Francois is the 25th best quarterback in 2017, according to quarterback ranking.
Yes.
And Jake Browning throws 29 touchdown passes. We're looking for the higher number, and Jake Browning
correct.
Will win.
Yes.
I got to go Jake Browning.
Yes. Okay.
I like DeAndre Francois. I think he's going to improve, but I think this is a tougher proposition than meets the eye.
See, I think Francois improves a little bit. Yeah.
And in fairness, he could improve a little bit and still sink in this rating.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Next topic, Dan. Did you unfurl your mattress yet?
I did not unfurl my mattress. I've been on the road.
Ah,
I know. We've been cleaning the apartment. I know. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad podcast host. This has been long established.
I've said it once. I'll say it again. My Casper mattress has changed my life. I'm sleeping better. I'm feeling better about my life. I'm not waking up with a dead shoulder next to me on the pillow. It's very important, Dan. You know I have shoulder issues. I had surgery on my left shoulder many moons ago. I don't have to worry about waking up, looking at it like it's a piece of dead meat, like it typically had felt with my old memory foam mattress. Now I've got a Casper mattress, Dan. A Casper mattress has been a positive
How do you
experience.
sleep? In what position do you sleep?
I'm usually a side sleeper.
Which side?
I'm usually a restless sleeper, so both sides. Probably
So you're going
an equal opportunity side sleeper.
Have you noticed that you have different experiences sleeping on different sides?
No.
I don't ask that out of thin air.
But I've heard that people who sleep in a different position sometimes have more intense dreams. Different sleeping experience.
Way more intense dreams when I sleep on my right shoulder. It's so strange, Ty. It taps into a part of my brain that I'm not fully comfortable with.
Casper has an average of 4.8 out of 5 stars. More than 30,000 global reviews, Dan. They are the internet's favorite mattress. Real customers have said, and I've said this before, I'll try to say it again, it is like sleeping on a brioche.
Again, it's brioche.
Or like being cradled by the tinkling of baby laughter in the moonlight. If you write that, you are a weird person, but you're not too weird to have a good mattress. So it's okay.
Solid Wife Kate likes it?
She likes it because it's got a breathable design. She runs a little hot. It keeps her cool at night. Award-winning design, Dan. They continually develop it using feedback from nearly 500,000 customers. They sell directly to you which means they can eliminate the commission-driven inflated prices you might find elsewhere. And above all that, it's easy to buy. Easy to buy. Go online, you order it. They'll deliver it to your door and in a magical box. I don't know how they do it. And they'll deliver to you in the United States, UK, or Canada. 100-night risk-free trial, free delivery, free returns. They know how important it is to actually try the mattress before you commit to it. So, again, 100 nights risk-free. You can get $50 towards any mattress purchase right now. If you go to Casper.com/verbal, VERBAL, and use the code verbal, VERBAL. $50 towards any mattress. Casper.com/verbal, offer code verbal, $50, 50 bones off any mattress purchase. Terms and conditions do apply.
Time to ask you one more follow-up question about your sleeping.
Yes, please.
How many fewer articles of clothing do you wear between the coldest and warmest night of the year? Coldest night of the year, how many articles of clothing are you wearing to bed?
Coldest night of the year usually got some
every
socks
piece
on.
of cloth on your person.
Yeah, I mean, I've already gone socks. I've gone like sweatpants. I've gone t-shirt and then long sleeve shirt over top of it.
T-shirt and long sleeve shirt over top?
On the coldest night of the year, and most of the time it's because I fell asleep at the couch and didn't feel like changing. But I've done that before.
But I'm saying intentionally going to bed saying, this is my uniform. This is my sleep uniform.
I've done that. I've done that consciously as well.
I am staunchly anti-sock, no matter the temperature. So I will go, yeah, there's at least 2 or 3 fewer.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably accurate.
I can't get with the socks at night. Got to let the dogs breathe, Ty.
All right. The other thing I want to mention very quickly, don't forget about our friends over at Blue Apron. As you know, you got picnics and potlucks and dinner parties, barbecues, all that good stuff going on right now. Good food is essential to a successful summer. Now it's easier than ever to create delicious summer meals with Blue Apron.
Do it.
For less than $10 a meal, they will deliver seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients right to your door. We use it. We've endorsed it. It's good stuff. They're very flexible. You customize your recipes every week. Choose a delivery option that fits your needs. Their freshness guarantee promises that every Blue Apron ingredient arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. Right now, in July, you can get seared chicken and creamy pasta salad with summer squash and sweet peppers, or creamy shrimp rolls with quick pickles and sweet potato wedges, fresh basil fettuccine pasta with sweet corn and cubanelle pepper, and chili butter steaks with Parmesan potatoes and spinach. Right now, you can get your first 3 meals for free with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/solid. blueapron.com/solid. You'll love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. So don't wait. One more time, blueapron.com/solid. Blue Apron, a better way to cook.
Next topic. Listen, I'm going to indulge you with this one because every single time we do hypotheticals, every single time we try to figure out things we like or have crushes on, you come back to your alma mater. May I ask you something, Ty? Because we have a Penn State item. We do. And I made this very specific to us. If your fandom right now, or not even your fandom, your focus, were a meter, and on one side of the meter, it says Penn State, and on the other side, it said Notre Dame. And so basically, there's a tug of war happening with the needle on this meter.
Right.
Where is the needle focused? Are we 60-40 Notre Dame? Are we 50-50? Are we 7-30 Penn State? Because I'm getting a lot of Penn State out of you.
Yeah, I mean, it used to be like 95-5 in favor of Notre Dame. I was an oddball in that I was raised in the state of Pennsylvania, where everyone was a Penn State fan, but my family was not. My family trained me from birth to try and root for a different team, Notre Dame. And all throughout college, I had a negative view of the Penn State football team because I had been brought up in a certain way. It wasn't until after college that I don't know what happened, but I softened on Penn State. So Notre Dame is still my alpha team. and I don't even think it's close. But if I'm picking a team number 2, it's probably Penn State. It's
Probably Penn State?
It's definitely Penn State.
I think if you got a phone call right after we finished recording from Mike Gesicki saying, you want to host a podcast together about college football?
Hans Gesicki,
you would delete my number so quickly.
I might do it.
It wouldn't even register.
I might do it, yeah.
So where's your needle right now? If it was 95.5, where is it right now?
I'll go...
Saquon Barkley does strange things to men.
Yeah, Saquon Barkley probably makes it about 62-38.
Wow. That's a significant jump.
Yeah.
I dig it, Ty. I like it.
I'm nothing if not honest.
You know who's going to love that? You know who's going to love hearing this?
Mama H.
All of our friends in the Penn Live comments.
Oh, that's right. Can't wait for that. We need to get on that show.
That.
We need to play that game again sometime soon.
Oh, okay. That's true. Okay.
All right. Where are we going next now? Where are we going?
All right. So we're going to go total Penn State Heisman invites. That's right. There was
an ulterior motive there, wasn't there?
Absolutely. Total Penn State Nittany Lion Heisman invites. Plural. Verse. And this is about me. Los Angeles quarterback Heisman invites. So an obvious reference to Cal State Northridge and Cal Poly Pomona. No, we're going with Josh Rosen and Sam Darnold. So
wow,
total Heisman. And it seems on the surface, this would be a reference to Trace McSorley and Saquon Barkley.
Right. Huh. It's interesting you bring that up because I was thinking about this and thinking about a similar question, maybe not geared so much around how many Penn Staters versus how many LA quarterbacks will go to New York, but mainly will Trace McSorley join Saquon Barkley in New York City? Now, we're assuming that Saquon's going to be there at all. Provided he doesn't get hurt, I think he will. But Trace McSorley is an interesting one. He's an interesting one. I think if he goes, it all but ensures that Saquon won't win unless he has a baller of a season. It would ensure that Penn State as a team had a pretty good year if he had enough notoriety to make it to New York to begin with. So it's contingent on a number of factors. I think Saquon will be there. I don't think Trace McSorley will. I think he'll probably finish right outside the running. 6th, 7th, 8th, somewhere in there. I don't think any quarterbacks from LA will be there. And
Zero?
I don't think that's necessarily a knock on Sam Darnold or on, I guess, Josh Rosen. Both could have good years, but I don't know if either is going to put up the kind of pinball numbers that it seems the Heisman requires nowadays.
You're going Penn State, who has a trickier schedule this year, but has an opportunity. They play Ohio State and Michigan in consecutive weeks, right?
That's correct.
So just in terms, if Trace McSorley shines bright in, I believe it's later on in October, if he shines bright, both of those games, if Penn State is what we anticipate them being, will be on national stage. I think the Ohio State game is already on Fox. It's a nooner, though. Let's assume the Michigan game is a night game. So he will be on display. Him and his, and it's funny that you don't mention the pop gun arm anymore. Isn't that interesting how you stopped making that reference? I notice these things, Ty. I notice.
It's funny how that works, but yeah.
But the timing is perfect because the schedule eases up after that with Michigan State, Rutgers, Nebraska, Maryland, in terms of the defenses he will face after Ohio State on the road. So timing-wise, I don't know if it matters that he puts up huge numbers, but if he wins and looks good in that back-to-back with Penn State receiving so much attention in such a confined space on the schedule, I think there's a good shot. Sure.
I think there's a better shot.
That'll make or break.
I don't think
it's a numbers thing.
There's a better shot of Penn Staters making it to New York than, both Sam Darnold and Josh Rosen. Josh Rosen, if you told me that week 7, a hole in the earth opened up and he fell into it, I'd be like, I could see that happening. I just don't know what to expect from him in 2017.
Yeah. New offensive coordinator. Yeah.
So I'm curious.
3rd in 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Kennedy Palomalu, Jed Fish, and Noel Mazzone. Yeah.
I'm curious. Remember the knock on him coming out of high school. Is he coachable?
Right.
I think he is, but I don't know if he's done a whole lot to counter that argument. So we'll see. I'm going to go Penn State.
I almost think Trace McSorley has a better shot than Saquon Barkley. And that's not a knock at all on Saquon Barkley. I just think it's more difficult with Penn State's schedule, having Iowa, Michigan, Ohio State, and obviously he tore up Iowa last year. But I think it's going to be more difficult unless he is putting up such crazy numbers consistently. And that was something he didn't do last year. He had huge flash games, but he disappeared a little bit other games. I think Trace McSorley as a quarterback in this system, in the second year in this system, has a better shot because of the way the Heisman is laid out, not necessarily because of football talent.
Interesting. Okay.
But my gut is to say push. I'm not a huge fan of Josh Rosen with this third coordinator in 3 years. I really, really, really like Sam Darnold, and I only think he gets better. He's without his number one receiver. Offensive line changes a little bit, which worries me, given protection issues. But I think his escapability is enough to the point where I think he gets there. So I'm going to give the nod and say 1 LA quarterback, 0 Penn Staters is the most likely, but they're both really good.
All right, let's do one more here and get out a little early since you're out there in Tahoe.
Okay.
Give you a chance to go enjoy the scenery.
Yeah.
Here is our final question. Did you put this one in here?
I must have, yeah.
I didn't see this one. So you've got Colorado wins versus the Pac-12 North versus number of weeks until Ty says, quote, I'm all in on Brandon Wimbush.
Yeah, that's the one.
So you're thinking 1 win for Colorado in the Pac-12 North.
It's gonna happen that quickly?
It could, Dan.
After Temple? You're just making a declaration?
Here's what we got for Colorado's schedule against the Pac-12 North. They play Washington. They play Oregon State. They play Washington State, Cal.
Yeah, 4 games. Every team always misses 2 in the Pac-12 of the opposing division.
The over-under for them this year is like right on the number at 6. Cal would probably be the, I think, most obvious win here.
So they're rebuilding their defense. Their defensive coordinator and Jim Leavitt, who goes to Oregon. Offensively, they lose Seifa Lufau, but that is a thing Colorado already. That's what they do every week. They lose Seifa Lufau, comes back, they lose Seifa Lufau, whatever. Steven Montez got a lot of time last year. The problem is against Washington, the offense was terrible. The defense was great. The defense is going to be different. I don't imagine Colorado's offense taking huge steps forward versus Washington. It was a good game, a good win against Wazoo late in the year. Cal, I think, is a win. Oregon State's tricky. Going to Corvallis, they're getting better. I like Gary Anderson as a coach. I think that's a tricky game. I think 1.5 is probably the over-under of acceptable wins there. And then if you compare that against Notre Dame, here's the first 5 weeks, because you're going to say this within the first 5 weeks, if you're going to say it at all. Versus Jeff Collins and Temple. I think we assume a good defense, given what has been recruited to Philly and what that defense has looked like consistently over the past 3 or 4 years. Is that reasonable?
Fair.
They're going to play, and Notre Dame has struggled with Temple recently. They're going to play Georgia. Is that at home or is that a neutral site game?
That game is at home, at night, 7:30 NBC Week 2 in Notre Dame State.
Okay. So there's a tricky game. Boston College should be relatively easy. Not easy, but manageable defensively. Michigan State, we don't fully know what to expect. Even when Michigan State's bad, they still look pretty good against Notre Dame. And Miami of Ohio finishes out September. So I would say the over-under would be 2, because I think that Georgia game is everything.
The Georgia game could definitely sway me.
As far as your crush, if he looks great against Georgia, then I can anticipate a Sunday morning, 11 a.m. I'm all in, baby. I'm all in.
It could happen.
I'm ready, baby. Yeah. So what's your final judgment? You said post-Temple's possible.
I'm going to go Colorado wins. Let's go Colorado wins.
I do like Mike McIntyre.
I'll be a caricature of myself if I lose, but yeah, let's go Colorado wins.
I like the fact that you can be all in on Brandon Wimbush. Let's say after week 2. He looks really good against Georgia. And then you have USC, NC State, Miami, Navy, and Stanford all to finish out the second half of the year for me to go back and say, remember when you said. But I really think Brandon Wimbush is going to be good for Notre Dame this year.
All right. There you have it, Dan.
Yeah, I have one other topic, but this is not a competing thing. This is not an either or, and it's totally off topic. But we are now, it's July 11th?
July 11th,
is that right?
Yeah.
As we record this? Okay, in front of me, I have the Billboard Hot 100.
Ooh.
And since you listen to music of this kind much more than I do, just because you have a radio and I don't really.
Yeah.
I guess I could listen on Spotify, but I'm not exposed to this as much as you are. I'm going to give you the top 5.
Okay.
Okay? That are currently atop. It's the week of July 22nd, the Billboard Hot 100. And you tell me what the current song of summer is. Okay?
Okay.
What is your jam?
5?
Here we go.
Of the 5.
Of these 5.
Yeah, okay.
And if there's one outside of the 5, you can say it after. Number 5 is The Shape of You, Ed Sheeran.
Okay, a little overplayed. Like Ed Sheeran, a little overplayed.
Okay. So Ty is on the record. Loves some Ed Sheeran. Doesn't like the overabundance. Wild Thoughts, DJ Khaled featuring Rihanna and somebody named Bryson Tiller.
Not a big DJ Khaled fan.
Do you know that song?
I do know the song. Not a huge fan. Quite honestly, I don't get the whole DJ Khaled thing. But
number 3, Bruno Mars, That's What I Like.
See, now that is what I like, Dan.
This is speaking to you.
This is speaking to me. Bruno's a true performer. I'm a Bruno fan.
This is true.
I don't know what else is on this top 5 list, but right now I'm feeling number 3.
Number 2 is Back to DJ Khaled, which I don't know what he does except for yell DJ Khaled at the beginning of songs, whatever.
Yeah, live the best
I've heard this song.
Yeah. Right.
I've heard this song. It's DJ Khaled featuring Justin Bieber, Quavo. It's the guy from Migos.
Yeah.
Chance the Rapper and Lil Wayne. That's number 2.
Okay.
Number 1 is Despacito, the remix featuring Justin Bieber.
See, I'm cool with Bieber as an artist, to be honest. Not like a fanboy or anything, but Bieber as an artist definitely
I'm fine with
trumps
Justin
Bieber as a person. And I still think
goes way back.
I still think I give the edge to Bruno Mars.
Bruno Mars, That's What I Like, Song of the Summer, unless there's something outside of the top 5. You got Imagine Dragons, you got Kendrick Lamar.
Yeah, I mean, of those choices, let's say, off the top of my head, I gotta go Bruno.
It's not a bad choice. I might go with I'm the One.
Not a fan.
DJ Khaled. Yeah, guy from Migos.
Not a fan.
It's a pretty good song. It's a pop hit, Ty. It is a pop hit.
Give me Bruno.
Despacito is also really good. Also, I give points to Despacito because it's Daddy Yankee.
Right.
And he is back from Gasolina.
I was in Cancun around the time that Gasolina came out.
Oh.
And let me tell you,
Wonderful
it was
song.
all Daddy Yankee on loop.
Ty, have you heard of the following artists? Charlie Puth.
Puth, Dan. Finally.
Have you heard of Charlie Puth?
I have, yeah.
Okay, I have not. Shawn Mendes?
I have.
Lil Uzi Vert?
Nope.
Halsey?
Yes.
Julia Michaels?
Yes.
James Arthur?
Yes.
Wow. I don't know who any of these people are.
Listen to a lot of pop radio.
I know you do, Ty.
Not gonna lie.
What was the song I saw in here? All right, I think this is all I have. But I'm glad to know that you're in on Bruno Mars. That's what I like, Song of the Summer.
I'm in, baby. All right.
Do you sing along in the car?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay. Just making
Are
sure.
you kidding me? You've heard these pipes, Dan.
It's true.
If you'd like more information on what we're up to over the next couple weeks, go on out to solidverbal.com. Sign up for our newsletter of intent. It's free to do. We won't spam you, we promise. We're going to be making an announcement shortly about the status of our live show. So stay tuned to that. Also, don't forget to follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. And if you haven't already, please do go on out to either the Facebook page or the iTunes page and write a review for us. We're also now on Spotify. So anywhere fine podcasts are sold, anywhere you can write a review, that help would obviously be greatly appreciated. That's all I got.
Me too.
Dan.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Enjoy your golf round. Enjoy your golf round tomorrow.
Thank you.
Whatever it is you'll be doing, take fun pictures. If you can get Brian Kelly, that would be nice. At a minimum, though, we need your golf swing.
Okay, I can get that.
But that guy over there, way over there, in beautiful Lake Tahoe, for myself, Ty Hildenbrand, back here at the homestead in Eastern Pennsylvania. Thanks again for listening to The Solid Verbal. We will catch you all in a week. In the meantime, stay solid.
Peace.